Hello guys, welcome back to Archive Ryzen. In this video, I like to talk about NERIDA's STYX and ENVOY's weapon mechanic, her weapon comparison, DPS performance, base rotation, the advantages and disadvantages of her abilities, and her manifestation priorities. The weapon I'm gonna compare is Shadow Surge and Web Snare. I will start by giving a quick explanation about her weapon's mechanics first. For Shadow Surge, you probably won't encounter any issue because these weapons' mechanics are very easy to trigger. The moment NERIDA deals any skill damage and applies Red Hand, the weapon skill will activate immediately. Meanwhile, for the free-to-play weapon, the first effect that provides chaos damage is also very easy to trigger. However, for the second effect requires her to complete at least a single rotation first until her ultimate skill explodes to activate the buff. Therefore, the first cycle of her rotation always didn't receive this 25% attack increase. Additionally, this attack percent increase only activates for 10 seconds, while each rotation takes approximately 10 seconds or more. Therefore, make sure to complete each subsequent rotation without any staggering or delay, so you can fully utilize this effect for all NERIDA skill. I think that's all about the weapon skill. NERIDA's STYX and ENVOY stat I use for this DPS calculation is Manifestation 2 stat. The weapon stat for this comparison is Tier 2 Shadow Surge, Tier 1 Shadow Surge, and Tier 5 Web Snare. While the Logistic talent has 14% attack percent talent and 11.8% chaos damage talent. As usual, because she's a skill DPS operative, her shooting DPS is low. So make sure not to use it because the combination from the Phantom and Wailing Ribbon's damage can highly surpassing her shooting damage. As for her weapons comparison, the gap is very huge. Tier 1 signature weapon can provide a 45% improvement compared to the free-to-play weapon, while Tier 2 signature weapon can provide an 81% improvement compared to the free-to-play weapon. So yeah. Without further ado, her signature weapon is a must pull considering how high the improvement it can provide. As for NERIDA's STYX and ENVOY solo DPS, at the first glance, her solo sustained DPS to a single enemy already looks in par with other top tier main DPS. However, we can't compare her only by using her solo DPS considering how reliant she is on Marian Riptide. So here is the team DPS if she includes Marian Riptide into the rotation. As you can see, her team DPS after including Marian Riptide is indeed on par with other top tier main DPS, so yeah, from the DPS perspective, she is also a top tier main DPS, excelling at fighting boss and mobbing. But what is the best rotation for her to achieve this huge team DPS? Here are 3 possible rotations when using NERIDA and when is the right time to use it. The difference between each rotation is only after NERIDA uses her ultimate skill. When against single enemy, by including Marian Riptide into NERIDA's rotation is always the best rotation that can achieve the highest team DPS. While the second rotation is by spamming Wailing Ribbons during her ultimate skill duration. Just use this rotation in case you didn't have Marian Riptide in your squad. The third one is by spamming STYX Pro Ribbons during her ultimate skill duration. Just use this rotation only when you are against 2 or more enemies, because when STYX Pro Ribbons hit multiple enemies, the damage is produced can surpass the total Wailing Ribbons damage in 0 whale charge. Therefore, only use this rotation when you are farming score in mobbing stages like Seasonal Paradoxical Labyrinths for example. In summary, if you have Marian Riptide, including her into the rotation is highly recommended. If you don't have Marian Riptide and against single enemy, spamming Wailing Ribbons after using her ultimate skill is more recommended. Lastly, if you are against multiple wave of mobs, spamming her STYX Pro Ribbons after using her ultimate skill and a full charge of Wailing Ribbons is more effective. If you have a question about can Marian Riptide reduce NERIDA's team DPS if her build is too low, like for example when she only uses free-to-play weapon? The answer is unlikely. Unlike in Katia Downwind case that I explained in Marian Riptide's video, the possibility of Marian Riptide being a burden in NERIDA's rotation is very low. Here is the example. This DPS is when you only use Marian Riptide as a background support, while this one is by including Marian Riptide into NERIDA's rotation. Even when a manifestation to Marian Riptide equipped with free-to-play weapon, paired with NERIDA that equipped with tier 2 signature weapon and add higher manifestation, the DPS by including Marian Riptide into the rotation still higher than the DPS that only use Marian Riptide as a background support. Therefore, it is highly recommended to include Marian Riptide into NERIDA's rotation no matter what weapon she uses, unless your Marian Riptide is still in low level, like level 50 or level 1. So the conclusion is, her tier 2 signature weapon is 81% higher than the free-to-play weapon, while her tier 1 signature weapon is 45% higher than the free-to-play weapon. From this percentage, we can conclude that her signature weapon is indeed very worth to pull. However, is NERIDA a must pull and invest operative? In order to answer that, let's discuss about the advantages and disadvantages of her abilities first. Starting with her advantages, based on her solo and team DPS, NERIDA indeed is another top tier main DPS that might even better than Cherno Enigma. She is also a versatile operative that can deal with a single powerful enemy and multiple enemies. As a skill DPS, she is also easier to use because you don't need to aim properly at the enemy's weak spot to deal critical damage. She can already produce high amount of damage. And the best part is that she is a burst DPS disguised as a sustained DPS. NERIDA deals continuous damage just like other sustained DPS operative. However, her Devo skill can allow her to accumulate damage in form of Red Hand without triggering the enemy's unskippable invulnerable phase. I call it unskippable invulnerable phase because even when you nuke the boss with a millions of damage, once their invulnerable phase is triggered, the boss will stay alive. So this unskippable invulnerable phase acts as an impenetrable HP gate to protect the boss from an instant death. However, unlike any existing operative who can't skip the unskippable invulnerable phase, NERIDA can continuously accumulating Red Hand as much as possible in the 5 seconds of her ultimate skill duration without triggering the boss invulnerable phase. This allows her to quickly eliminate the boss once their invulnerable phase durations end and their HP is lower than the accumulated Red Hand amount. So basically, she defeats the boss before they even notice.
Nope.
While for her disadvantages, skill damage can't deal double damage to shield, making her less effective than Ballistic DPS operative when facing a shielded boss. While the next one is the biggest downside of her is that, unlike Cherno Enigma who can ignore destructible part, NERIDA's skill most of the time will hit the enemy's destructible part. This can prevent NERIDA's skill from inflicting Red Hand and generate Whale Charge, which completely ruin her rotation. So basically, she wins against Cherno in terms of solo DPS and team DPS, but lost against Cherno in terms of skill flexibility. Lastly, for the competitive gameplay in Neural Simulation, she will need Marian Riptide just like Cherno Enigma need Enya Exuvia. So upgrading her alongside Marian Riptide is necessary. However, in terms of casual gameplay, her performance is highly surpassing Cherno Enigma due to how high her solo DPS is. In my opinion, at the first glance, she just looks like an usual skill DPS operative with a downside in this part. However, her ability to stack damage without triggering the enemy's unskippable invulnerable phase is what makes her a game-changing character. Therefore, if you consider the possibility of more future bosses having the unskippable invulnerable phases, then she is a must-pull and worth investing operative. Also considering that she is a well-designed operative and a very strict commander that always ready to punish you whenever you want, why not pulling for her? As for NERIDA's manifestation, the first spike occurs in Manifestation 3 in her solo DPS, but it seems like with the involvement of Marian Riptide into the rotation, really make the spike slope down and less noticeable. While for her Manifestation 5 also looks good, due to it can provide attack buff for whole squad based on NERIDA's attack. However, to be honest, I have no idea which NERIDA's attack it refers to, whether it is her loadout attack or base attack. Since I don't have Manifestation 5 NERIDA, I can only assume that it is based on her loadout attack. In summary, even though every improvement look kinda slow in her team DPS, I still recommend you to farm until Manifestation 3, due to the effect from Manifestation 2 and 3 are less prone to diminishing return. For her team composition, Marian Riptide and Acacia Kaguya are probably the best. If you don't have either one of them, you might consider using Ether Cup or Moxir Shadows to provide flat attack buff, or you can also use Enya Exuvia, but their synergy will be very low because NERIDA has a very high mobility and doesn't shoot for the whole battle. As for the Logistic talent priority, attack percent has the highest priority, alignment index is the second, while the third talent is Chaos Elemental damage. Alright, I think that's all from me. Thank you for watching, see you next time, cheers.